It will be very, very busy later on this summer with his brother in Cooperstown, not fitting in for an Orioles hat, not fitting in for a Yankees hat, fitting in for somewhere in between, correct?
Correct.
Tough decision, though, right? I mean, have you had a real chat with him about that yet, or have you figured that part out?
We talked about it kind of, I don't know if it was right before or right after, and he had talked with the Hall of Fame people like 3 weeks before.
What did they say? You better talk to Maddox. You better talk to Fisk.
Well, yeah, and that's what.
Better talk to Clemens.
What he said was he wants to have a blank hat with each logo on the plaque, and they're like, yeah, whatever you want to do, we'll work with it, and we'll see what we can come up with. But yeah, he's not the first one that's been in this, and I know Halliday's in the same boat, and so.
If we had a better owner, it would have an Oriole bird on it, and I'll just leave that right there, and you know that that's true. So,
you still don't like the owner? You and the owner haven't kissed and made up yet?
I don't know if you've noticed, Mark, but I'm not the only one that hasn't kissed and made up with the owner. No one goes to the game, so I was just sort of on the early side. Is that disturbing to you to watch how empty a lot of the – not just here. I mean, I was watching Cleveland on Sunday night, and they've been pretty good for a while. Boy, and maybe where you are out on the farm a couple of hours away from Major League Ballpark where you've done that journey a million times watching your brother pitch, I don't know what would possess you to get in a car in Williamsport right now and go to a Yankee game unless they were honoring your brother, or go to an Oriole game unless they were honoring your brother, or your brother was with you, or something like literally, would you ever get in a car and just go to a Phillies-Braves game on a Tuesday night just for fun?
No. No.
You haven't. But you would go to Hershey to see Kiss or Def Leppard, right? But literally, and I think a lot of people are there in our community about driving downtown to see a last place team, the city itself, the price of doing business, the tanking part that's really a little more offensive to me than I thought it was going to be. You know what I mean? Like, this is what you have to do to win. No, if you're better managed, you don't have to do this to win, really. I mean, you don't have to be in last place 5 years in a row and tell me why it's a good idea. I mean, it's very hard to shine this up, dude. It's April 20, and it's already not it's not fun. It's not interesting. It's really horrific, dude. You know, it really is.
And yeah, I mean, your situation's different because it's last place, and last year was historically bad, and this year doesn't look like it's going to be any better. Even though they gave a little glimmer there coming out of the gate. But yeah, this is the thing around, you look at, NFL attendance, NASCAR attendance. It is really, and I don't know if this, like, your kid's older, but like I got a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, and when I tell you they never watch television, I mean they never watch television. They watch YouTube on their computers. They play video games. They watch. It is such a different landscape than us. And my son loves sports. My son knows sports trivia, but he does not sit down and watch games. He watches highlights, and he watches guys on YouTube that make top 10 lists of the greatest power forwards of the 90s. And it's just a totally different
Well, I'm
world.
on NFL Top 10, so hopefully he's seeing me. Tell him Uncle Nestor says hello.
I will do that. But so when you get to these, when you talk about people, do they want to go to the stadium and watch the game? I mean, I know a lot of the youth that don't even sit at home and watch the game. So now they follow it, and they'll tell you stats. And I was driving my kids. We had a doubleheader on Saturday, and I was driving my son and two of his buddies home from the game. And one of the kids in the back seat says, Yelich just hit another home run. So they know, but they know because it's on their phone and it's on their box score, and it's just a totally different world. And I guess it's like, for the generation that grew up listening to the games on the radio, and then it just changed when all of a sudden you're watching the games on TV, and now,
Well, Moose, let me say this. I mean, about you and me and your brother and our friendship from 28 years ago, whenever it was, in the early 90s. We all had the same background, and I would say that the three of us loved all the sports, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, whatever it was, right? We had teams, had players, had your Joe Montanas, your Jerry Rices, or your Cal Ripkins, or whomever your heroes were, right? And meeting a person like your brother, and I've always compared him to sort of like Joe Flacco in this way, that Joe was really interested in all the sports, right? That is a complete anomaly amongst the human beings. Like Mike Flynn's another guy that really likes hockey and basketball. He was an athlete and liked all, but Brian Baldinger, my friends who are very well versed across sports, right? The modern day athlete, because you play in the NFL, you might not have ever been to an NFL game, watched a whole lot of NFL, and a lot of guys are like, I play golf, I don't watch golf. I play basketball, I don't watch basketball. I play baseball, I don't watch baseball. And I've noticed that with a lot of modern athletes, and especially if you play football and watch football, you might watch the NBA, but you don't know anything about baseball. You don't know anything about golf. You don't know anything about tennis. You don't know anything about anything else, that it's become so, one tube, right? If your kid plays softball, it's all about softball. If it's soccer, it's all about soccer, and you might watch soccer on Saturday mornings, which wasn't even available to us, right? So many other things get in the way, but it really becomes like I listen to one kind of music, one kind of sport, one kind of thing, where that really has become a bigger problem here, where trying to sell baseball to a kid that has a lacrosse stick, which is like everybody, is really difficult. And that's the baseball proposition that we have, is that we don't live on the farm and have to drive 3 hours to go to a baseball game. If one of your kids just wanted to go to a Yankee game so bad, and it's different in your family, obviously, given your last name and what you've, where your family's been and the way these kids have grown up with baseball. But I think your neighbors, that if they to go to a Yankee game maybe once a year to get in the car would be a big deal. But that's about all they're going to do it. And the Orioles need more than that. They need you to go to the game more than once a year for them to be viable here. And Moose, we're into this place now where the viability of, is Baltimore a two-sport town? Do we have the business, the human beings, the money, the people, the want, the will to support this? And I'm gravely concerned. This is starting to feel exposy, and I don't know where the end of the hole is, right? That's the worrisome part, is I don't know where the next Manny Machado is coming from.
Well, it's a valid point. Well, first of all, the one thing that needs to be said is it's still April. And, April attendance is always the worst. And I know this, and maybe you being there, it's different. But, for all those years when Mike was playing, and it would be early in the season, and, you get into April, starts high school ball, and it starts Little League ball, and all the people here who are involved, who have kids that are involved with baseball, this is when baseball's ramped up and we're getting going. And they'd say, oh, yeah, we got to get down to Baltimore this year to see Mike pitch, and we want to get down, and we want to get down. And then all of a sudden you wake up and it's August, and they haven't got there yet because there's no urgency to get to the ballpark. For those people who aren't diehards, who aren't watching every night, and they're like, yeah, I want to get there, we got to get to a game. Well, right now they're saying, well, and especially the as you just talked about, the total sports fan, when they say, all right, yeah, we could go watch the Orioles.
Yeah, I got the draft
tonight.
This weekend, and the Caps are playing, and there's a hockey game, and oh, by the way, the NBA's next month, and the Preakness, and we're taking the kids to the beach. And dude, when you play lacrosse, and you're a dad times 3, like I don't even know, I've never met your children, like I still think of you as
intentional. I keep them at arm's length.
I feel like, and I'm partially responsible for you meeting your wife and the creation of these beautiful children. So I do feel a little Uncle Nestor-y in a lot of that. But I would just say this. I think it's different, right? I mean, as you've pointed out, like for you now raising these kids and what they're into becomes what you're into. And if they're not into it, 7:30 at night happens for you too, and you're not watching the game tonight. And I think if your kid, like, my friend's kid was way into hockey and started playing hockey, this time of year you're playing hockey or maybe watching hockey, but you're not watching baseball. You can't do both.
I'll tell you this, and this is something I would have never believed before, and you're not going to believe this either until my daughter, my middle daughter's 15. She's a freshman in high school, and she hates sports. She's the most unathletic person you've ever met. She doesn't watch them. She doesn't like them. She doesn't care about them. And she's into theater, and she sings, and, she likes to act. And so one of the local high schools, not even our high school, but like the rival high school, was doing a production of Once Upon a Mattress. And this is, I'm going to say, two years ago maybe. And it was the Saturday night of the Final Four. and it was the
Which
only
is a
night in
religious
our
holiday for you and your brother. I mean, I know this to be true. Yes.
I mean, for everybody, for every red-blooded American sports fan, the Saturday night of Final Four, you got 2 games, you got all. I saw, because she wanted to go, so I took her and 2 of her friends to sit through Once Upon a Mattress, which is a stupid story, by the way, and I saw the second half of the second game. And there I am, just to your point, there I am sitting there with my 13-year-old daughter, sitting there in an auditorium watching a play that I don't care about, that I only knew one of the kids in the play anyway, because her and her friends wanted to see it, and there I am.
Such is life when you start to get a little silver around the temples. Mark Mussina joining us here. Of course, Mike, Kemosabe, and Pal, 25 years run. Looking forward to summer. Hey, on your thing with your brother in the summer in the Hall of Fame, I mean, looking forward, I mean, starting to get a little burn in the belly after opening day and seeing Ichiro doff the cap and understanding what sort of, you've seen your brother honored and pitch in big games, and you always had that knot in your stomach about whether the next pitch was going to be the home run that ended his life, right? That's all. This is all supposed to be fun, right? This is like a sled ride. It should be, right?
Well, I'm kind of, yes, but I kind of don't want it to get here, because I know that it's cool and he's in, and once he's in, he'll always be in, but this is like graduation. You only have one graduation party, and people are talking about it, people are asking me about it, and people are still people come up to me and say, "Hey, where are you staying? There's no place to stay in Cooperstown." I say, "No kidding." So I'm not I'm looking forward to it, but I'm glad it's still a couple months out and we get to kind of build up to it. And
where are the Mussinas this week? They're at the trailer park right over there. They have the 54-footer. It's go check them out over there. They have the better sewage, right? That's pretty much how it's going to go down.
So it will be weird though. The thing that I keep thinking is, and because of the party that we'll be with, we will have access to we will be able to walk around behind ropes that other people aren't allowed to walk behind, and it's going to be a room full of Cal Ripkins and Ozzie Smiths and Reggie Jacksons and guys that I grew up watching.
Yeah, if somebody doesn't want to go with you, I'll go with you. Let me know. I mean, I'm in. I mean, I'll be the official Mussina family photographer.
Well, what's funny is my daughter that I was just telling you about is auditioning for a play, and if she gets a part, it's that weekend. So we just discussed it.
Oh, no.
And I was just listen. She goes, "What if I miss it?" I was like, "Listen, you do your thing. If you go audition, if you get a part, then we'll go from there. But if
we'll set up a camera and videotape it, and Mom and Dad will watch it when we get back."
Yeah, I'm like,
no.
Uncle
come
Mike's
on,
in
dude.
Cooperstown, whether you're there or not.
No, come on, man. That's not real, right? Really?
No, that's it.
So are you rooting for her to get the part or not?
I'm rooting for her to get a good part. If she gets a small part, I don't know.
I never thought you and I, when we were, I was drinking all that beer and you were drinking iced tea and fruit drinks, along with eating all the pizza and the Happy Meals we ate when we shacked up together over, that you would be discussing, your brother going into the Hall of Fame, and on that day, your daughter might be in a play, and this may be affecting our lives. So
such is life, isn't it?
Hey, man, it's not like a Tesla concert or something you have to see. You know what I mean? All right, so on to baseball and where we are and the Oriole thing. I mean, is there anything you want to say about the Orioles? You just want to move on from that and talk about the teams that matter, or the things that are going on in the game and the shifts and the theory of baseball is about to change here, Moose. And I think the next 5 conversations after your brother, winds up doing pomp and circumstance and all the stuff we'll do, you and I, the rest of our lives, literally, if I do radio and you're my friend and we stay alive and still do this 4 times a year as we do, we're going to be talking about the game changing dramatically, in a way that we both might not, and your brother might not like, quite frankly, right?
It will be different. Yeah, it'll certainly be different. As far as the Orioles go, when you look at all these teams, I was watching a little bit of the Braves in Cleveland last night, and historically, all the good teams have developed their own young talent. And when they get a run where they get 3 kids at Double-A who are superstars, and they're 20 years old, and 2 years later they're in the big leagues, it can change relatively quickly. And when you look at things, when you look at, I know the Yankees seem to have endless money and the Red Sox seem to, but if Chris Sale is really losing it, which his fastball seems to be really losing it right now. And David Price has been good, but he's not been great. And, Giancarlo Stanton is hurt, and they're going to have to pay Aaron Judge here soon. That's one of the reasons the Yankees are lucky right now, because they don't have to pay Judge yet. So it could be a spot where the Yankees and the Red Sox have some bad money tied up. So, the opportunities present. But when you look at Tampa won 90 games last year. And, they're
not a fluke at this point. They're a well-oiled machine that is sort of retooled, right?
So they could, to say that 3 years from now the Orioles could be a contender is not out of the realm. When you look at where Houston went to, you look at where Kansas City went to and now has returned. Team, you can turn around more quickly than you think. So it just depends. But yes, right now it's bleak, and I'll tell you this: when you asked the earlier question, why would you bring your kids to the game? Because I took my Little League team last year, my All-Star team. We brought 10 kids down. I bet 7 of them came home with a baseball. They hung out by the bullpen. They were there. There were probably 8,000 people there, and they had the time of their lives. They roamed around the stadium. They did whatever they wanted. So, yeah.
Reminds me of me on 33rd Street. When I was a kid, that's the way 33rd Street was. 1979, most Tuesday nights, my dad and I would go out there. I could go run around, sit wherever I wanted to, It was part of the Pat Kelly would throw me a baseball. Mike Hargrove threw me a baseball when I was a boy. I always told him about that in 1979 as a member of the Cleveland Indians. And, you talk about that 40 years later, Moose, right? I mean, you've spent your life in baseball. Hey, next time we get together, and I hope it's soon, I want to go back to Chris Sale is losing it. And I just let it be. Some guys like you and I never had it to lose, right? But, but your brother and everybody's worry is losing it, right? And your brother never lost it, which is why he's going to the Hall of Fame. He had it and never lost it. But Chris Sale, when you start to lose it in the middle of it, it's a problem, and that's another baseball problem as well. Dude, I love hanging out, and I hope you come down for Tesla, and if you do, you got a couch to sleep on, and you'll love my cat. That's all I can say.
I feel like I know your cat from Facebook. It's like we have this bond.
You and her, because you're sporty, you're going to want to play fetch. So she will find you to be a willing contributor to her hijinks. So, all right, man. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you soon. Mark Mussina, my dear friend, getting his brother ready for all Hall of Fame things here coming up this summer. I didn't even talk any football with Moose. I love talking baseball with Moose. I didn't even bring up the fact that I'm thinking of doing a trip to Buffalo that goes to Toronto and Niagara Falls. So send me an email if you're interested in going on the Toronto, Buffalo, Niagara Falls trip, nasty@WNST.net. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, the draft, and when the picks happen, you'll get it all first on the WNST Tech Service. That's all brought to you by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. And Dennis Colatzos will be here on Thursday driving you home and getting you ready for said draft from 3 until 5. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.